Oh, looks like we're good to go.
Evening, guys.
Evening, how you doing?
Hello.
Yeah, very well yourself.
I'm good,
Yep,
I'm good.
Good.
Good. So my name's Dave. I'm based down in Essex, down near about 10 minutes from the Dartford Tunnel, really, so not too far away. So yeah, so I thought I'd join. I did say there's going to be quite a few people on tonight, I gather.
It's the first time I've been on these, so I thought I'd have a little butchers and see what it's all about, really.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And there's my friend Ad Hotel. So hopefully there'll be quite a few people on.
Hello, can you hear me now?
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Yourselves?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Looking well.
Smiling, Dave. That's always a good sign.
Yeah, it's because I've been drinking. No, not really.
I do like drinks. I feel you.
Hello, I'm Graham. I'm an external CPC based in Derby, and I now have the Magic 4 clients.
Nice to meet you, Graham.
You too?
So I did say we all do different things in different areas. So yeah, I mean Terry knows me. So I'm a transport manager for a builders merchants, and I've got a small concern where I'm an external TM for them. For they've only got 2 vehicles, margin for free. So but we're running 2. So yeah, so relatively new to being full-time transport manager. As Tel knows, I'm a DGSA for dangerous goods and an ADR instructor. So yeah, sort of transitioned over into being a full-time TM. So yeah, it's going well.
Enjoying it, Dave.
Yeah, I am, mate. Yeah, really good. Yeah, having all the automated systems helps. I'll pretty much run. Well, we've got a fleet of 60 in total, but only 32 on the O license. So yeah, it's busy, really busy. Lots going on. If I hear the word PMI anymore, I'm going to scream. But yeah, it's yeah, and DAF and Walker cranes, because every one of our vehicles has got a lorry loader on it.
My favourite phrase at the moment is, "I'm not ready for DVS. Can you help?"
Yeah. Do you know what? I've done a really lot of work with DVS, so I've got all 30 permits through. So where I was, they didn't start the permit process. Well, they started the permit process at November 19, and they didn't touch it until I started. So I've had to get 30 permits through. Yeah, a couple of camera systems that I've had to get installed, and well, quite a few camera systems installed, which is hard at the moment because the kit's in short supply for where we go. But yeah, I've had a lot where the star rating hasn't given us, so we've had to go to the manufacturer. I've argued with DVS about why you need a registration when you go off. What happens if I change a private plate? So yeah, it's I've had a lot of arguments with DVS, and to be fair, they've been really helpful. But yeah,
speak to someone.
Yeah. I've got the direct number. I'll send it to you.
Well, I mean that'd be worth some money.
Yeah, and it goes straight through, and I speak to the same girl every time, and she's been brilliant, really brilliant. But it is such a headache. They've granted us permits even without camera systems on vehicles. But we've obviously had to send photos in of the underrun bars and the class 5 and 6 mirrors and blah blah blah, all the safety signage and stuff. But yeah, they've been really good, relatively good, if I'm honest. But it has been a bit challenging because some of our branches are inside the M25.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I did say everybody else has got their own story. So.
Have they been particular with the photos that you send over?
No, they've been really good. So I've got a friend who's works for a really large haulage company down in Rainham, and I would guess they're probably running in the region of 500-600 lorries, and they've rejected nearly every photo that he sent in. And I've been lucky. I've probably had to send, because I got frustrated with them in the beginning, if I'm going to be honest, guys. And I know you've probably all got your own outtake on it, but the multi permit that we applied for first of all. They granted all the 1 stars. They wanted photos, say 50% of the photos of the 0-star ratings that we've got, which I sent in, and then I've heard nothing, absolutely nothing. So do I presume that the other 50 have been added to the multi-permit? There's just no communication there. So I thought, sod it. So I applied singularly for the rest of my 0-rated fleet, some with photos, and lo and behold, 5 minutes, 10 minutes after submitting each submission, you got a permit back. And so I've got a real big mixture of, I've got 2 multi-permits running and loads and loads of single permits, which I sent photos in for, and luckily they've not rejected any photos for me. You know, I sent to our branch managers a clear definition of what I wanted to see in the photo: front registration, class 5 and 6 mirrors, underrun bars, on the back the signage and stuff. And yeah, they've been really good. It's just excuse my language, I know it's a shower shit, because they just don't, there's no communication. There's no feedback from your applications. But in defence, the guys and the girls that I've been speaking to at DVS have been really good. And in their defence, they're like, well, we never learned that on training. We didn't do this on training. And so, but yeah, it's been mindful. But what they don't understand is, you know, the over the £500 fine of every vehicle if you don't get it right. And it's us that brunt that bill. And I just think it's really, really poor from their behalf. Just the whole setup.
They were certainly challenged by the number of people that waited till the last minute, though, weren't they? I mean,
absolutely.
We've had, well, whatever. I started getting involved with DVS in 2017, and we've had whatever more than 12 months to make requests for your permits. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that wasn't straightforward for everybody, and you had to do something last minute, especially with newer vehicles or if you're fitting equipment. But I think that they did a decent job of communicating out the fact that, you know, you've got plenty of time to do it. And I think that they were certainly challenged by the number of people who were finding that they, you know, decided to do it in the last month. And I think that's had a knock-on effect to everybody, because obviously they've got this massive backlog that they're trying to work on. It's I don't think that helped.
No, for sure. And I mean, but even just the whole setup, when I was speaking to the guys in DVS, I said, you know, this isn't even like the same system that we have our dart charge on. You can't add and remove your vehicles to your permits. You don't actually, you know, if I left my company today and a new TM joined, he would have no idea of what vehicles have been granted permits. You know, at least with, say, the dart charge, the congestion charge, even your O licenses, if you're doing it through VOLs, you know, at least you can see what you're adding. And if you get rid of a vehicle, you can take it off. Because I'm not being funny, some of our gear, you know, when we're putting kit on our vehicle, which is another thing, you know, I've been speaking to Brigade and lots of companies about kit. You know, when we sell one of our older vehicles, sometimes we're going to take the kit off. You know, we've paid over £3,000 for the proximity sensors and the turn left audibles and the 4 camera systems and stuff like that. And it's a lot of money. So we take them off the vehicle. So someone else buys that, then now have got a non-compliant vehicle. So we should be able to take that off our permit. I
don't think vehicles are associated with they are associated with companies, because you have to put what company you're in on the application. Sure. But there is no way of checking if a vehicle has already got a permit. I mean, no. I accidentally didn't write down two of the permit numbers. Could not get through. I had to reapply for permits. I did. You can do an email check where you ask for an email. It took 20 days for them to reply. In the meantime, I just reapply for the permits. So two of my vehicles have got 2 permit numbers. But like there isn't a way of checking, has this vehicle already got a permit? That's just ridiculous.
And that's certainly a subject that was on the mind of a lot of operators. So I have a call with TfL every week, and that's always on the agenda, and they have committed to that being their next piece of development, because you need a lookup tool. There's no doubt that you need a lookup tool so that you can see if a vehicle's got a permit. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't know how quickly that's going to come, but it's certainly next on their development agenda in terms of the tech, because you know, you're absolutely right, Dave. The you know, when we've got systems out there where you can dip in and out to see exactly what your status is, they could have done better. But I know that lookup tool is next on their agenda. So it would.
That shouldn't be a difficult thing when they've already got. You can check whether it's rated or not.
Yeah, I agree. You wouldn't think so.
So it shouldn't be difficult.
Yeah, no. I agree.
This is TfL we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I did speak to when I first started investigating, you know, Tel, with my history with this company, and when I first started with this company, and I realised that actually no one had touched the DVS since November 19, and I'm like, shit, it's coming in a month's time, and no one's done anything. When I spoke to them, fair play to the girl from DVS that I was speaking to, but she actually had to read out every single registration to me that was listed on that multi-vehicle permit. Oh my God, it shouldn't be like that. Not in today's technology.
No, it's very backward.
What I find really interesting as well is this is not something that's come in overnight. This has been talked about for years, and the amount of haulers that were not prepared for this, I just find that amazing. I just find the amount of people that were not prepared for DVS, although it was put back 6 months, wasn't it, already?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was talking to Brigade. So I use a microlise system on our vehicles, run through microlise and TrueTac. So, you know, I have all the auto downloaders. I have the cards and the head units downloaded daily, really on it. So we've got some really good systems in place. But microlise, there's a 4 to 6 week lead time. As I say, there's some of our vehicles that are running around that have been granted a permit that actually don't have a near side camera on them. Rear cameras, audible alerts, we're just waiting for the near side cameras. So right or wrongly, we've been granted the permits, but we can't get the kit. There's 4 to 6 week lead time on it. I spoke to one of the head sales guys at Brigade, and they can't get the kit that Brigade have made that's out there already, whether it's through, you know, the FTA, the Logistics UK and things like that, is all they've got, you know, and people are paying a premium for it. You know, it's just, there's just not the tech out there to fit to the vehicles to make every lorry DVS compliant. And then they obviously had a cut off from the grace period. And any vehicles that I found after that grace period, they were like, well, sorry, grace period's ended. And I'm like, oh shit, you know, I mean, I like the system, but it's just not how it should be at the moment.
You can apply for the permit if you've got proof of the equipment being fitted as well. So you can actually apply for a permit saying, I've got proof of receipt saying I purchased the goods, I'm waiting for it to be installed. They will give you a permit for that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've got vehicles out there that have got permits that actually have got only half the kit or no kit on there, but we've given them proof that we've ordered it and it's on order. And but again, 4 to 6 week lead time, and you know, we've got over 30 vehicles, and I reckon half of them is waiting for kit.
We'd be remiss of me to comment now to say that I am aware that I've got a customer that I've supported recently who, before reaching out to me for their help, took photos of all their lorries, all 6 of them, with the same camera unit which they bought, the external camera for the near side, just one, the same magnetic blind spot label. So they stuck it on the front corner, stuck the label on, took a photo of it, took it off, put it on the next lorry, took a photo of it, submitted all those images and got all their permits. Not a single lorry has got a blind spot sticker or a camera on it.
No.
And it's like, well, I need to buy some time. And they're working off the strength of a photograph. And to be honest, it's a bit of ingenuity, saved himself a bit of time before the grace period and stuff was brought out. But I'm sure he's not alone in that approach. There's probably plenty out there, like you say, Dave. They're giving out permits now with people who've got an appointment.
I mean, the ones I did, you couldn't even see the cameras. You could not see the cameras. I had to zoom in. You couldn't see the proximity sensors. They granted all of them.
Yeah.
And I've had operators had theirs refused with a tractor unit attached with a trailer on. They refused them, unhooked the trailer, took the same photos of the same truck, and they approved them.
That's what mine were tractor units. They had no stickers on the back of tractor units because you just generally wouldn't, and they were fine. One on the front, one on the back, no sticker on the back of it, and they said, yeah, no problem. Admittedly, they're all either 0 or 1 star, but they've all got permits.
And that's another thing. I've been talking to manufacturers, and you know, we run predominantly DAFs, so we've got the LFs and the CFs and that, because we only run rigids because we're obviously a builder's merchant. So we run those, got one Scania, but I can't believe that either. I've got 4 brand new vehicles being built as we speak. So the chassis cabs are done, the cranes are on the back. 4 of them have been finished. We were just waiting for the sign writer, and then I've got a 5th one that's waiting for its body to be redone. So 5 vehicles pretty much, and even now a 21 plate vehicle, 2 of those are coming out as 0 stars. Zero. It ain't even got its number plates on, and it's coming out as a
by any
0 star.
chance.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're funny.
All mine are Euro 6, all 0. All 0.
Yeah, it just don't make sense. You know, the principle is good. And still, I'm a cyclist, although I don't look like a cyclist. I am a cyclist, so I can see the point from a lorry driver's point of view and a cyclist, and I understand vulnerable road users, etc. But the way it's been brought in, I get that we want to save lives, but I think there could have been a lot more forethought, especially from manufacturers. I've got, as I say, I've got 4 vehicles that are coming out that are 0 starred, and they haven't even got their number plates on. And
some of that's because it's a London-centric thing. So London does something. London does something, and they think that the industry is going to jump. Manufacturers don't give a shit.
No,
they're making this kit for all over the world and largely Europe. They're not going to make something different for London. Not a chance. And that was part of the challenge. It's like you say. I mean, it's a good idea. It's great that London have led from the front in this sort of change, whatever my view on it may be. But the manufacturers weren't going to make something specifically for London. So the kit that you're talking about there. Dave, is the same kit that's going to every city in Europe. So they just make one, don't they?
Yeah.
The head of Volvo UK said exactly that at the last FTA conference.
Really?
Team. Yeah, he stood up in front of everybody, 600 guys, wherever was there, and literally said, "We're not worried about 100 square miles in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Square miles we're covering worldwide."
Yeah, and that's not them being anti-DVS, but it's a commercial decision, isn't it? You're not going to.
That's a huge R&D change to suddenly start redeveloping all your cabs to fit that.
Exactly right. Yeah.
I think TfL approached us the wrong way, to be honest. I had a good conversation. I speak to Will Shears, you say it, the commercial motor editor. He put a post up on LinkedIn recently talking about, obviously, this DVS we're talking about now. But one of the things that I think TfL approached wrong, all these trucks that are unclassified, obviously, there's plenty out there that are 0 or 1s, fine, they're brilliant. All the ones where they just don't know, rather than just classifying them as 0 across the board until you prove me otherwise, they've made us have to jump through so many hoops. It goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. All the things we had to do to find out the classification. Well, if you don't know, it's a 0. Surely, end of story, it's a 0. You take away all that headache, you send me your images and prove it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and then we'll give you the correct permit.
But 0 is when you've got cameras fitted to the vehicle.
No, it's not.
To get my 0s, we had to have cameras fitted to the vehicle. I wouldn't allow him. We wouldn't have got a permit otherwise.
No. Your cameras. So the additional equipment is direct vision. So if you can't see directly, so if you've got no window in your passenger door, if you haven't got a low cab like a Dennis or a new Scania P cab, whatever, if you haven't got the low down cab, whatever, you have to use a camera or a mirror. So it's an indirect device. That vehicle is a 0. You have to have an indirect device to get the permit. Regardless of the permits, the equipment is added to your truck, the 0 truck status will disappear eventually. That, I think, it's 2024, sorry.
2024, it goes up to 3-star, I think it is.
Yeah, and so regardless if you've got a 0 truck with all the bells and whistles on it, it won't comply.
Definitely,
yeah, and that's the point. So it can be a 0 with all the bells and whistles to make it comply. That's it. That's now. 3 or 4 years' time, they want to have 360-degree cameras, audible left turn, right turn, reverse, whatever. They want everything added.
Well, to be fair, that's what we don't know, isn't it? So it's a good point that it's going to be different. So the terminology that they've used, and they're very clear that they don't know what this looks like. The terminology they've used is that in 2024 there will be a review because you need to have a progressive safe system. And we asked them, we said, that's great, we understand the need to continually change, and what's safe, what you think is safe now, you might not say is safe in 2024 because technology is going to move on. But what do you think? What do you mean by a progressive safe system? And the feedback was, we don't know, because we don't know what's going to be on the market by then. You could argue that the stuff that we've had to add now is only interim, because there's technology available now. Your automated braking systems and stuff will be far better than a guy with his direct vision or anything. The vehicle that stocks itself is an example of technology that's quickly going to supersede the DVS principles, because direct vision will be secondary to things like automated braking. So I think that it's going to be, we don't know what 2024 looks like, but to be fair, neither did TfL. They've declined to comment because they've said, well, until the technology is there for us to look at it in whatever 2023 or whatever, then we don't know what we're going to ask for. And again, that in itself is a ridiculous challenge for the industry, because how do you know? You're buying kit now that's going to last you beyond 2024. What are you going to buy? But we again, that was something that we were pointing out to TfL ever since we did these consultation pieces back in 2017. We wanted to know what 2024 looked like, but they didn't know themselves, because they wanted to wait till the technology was available. Then they could have a look at it and say, right, this is what you want you to have. That's not great. Although, and I'll be balanced. I should balance that out by saying, actually, if you've got a 3-star and you've got till 2030, that's half decent. That's a decent amount of time, is that? So I suppose there's that. Try and give it a bit of balance, I suppose.
The issue that we have is, I don't know about you guys and other manufacturers and different vehicle types, but, predominantly we run, apart from one Scania, we run DAFs. That's what we've got. We've got little 7.5 ton Hino, doesn't matter. But the DAFs, the CFs and the LFs that we've got, sit them side by side. The LFs will have a 1-star rating, and the CFs, whatever way around, if you excuse my ignorance, I can't remember. But if we put a 0-star rated vehicle and a 1-star rated vehicle next to each other, because that's all we've got is 0 and 1s, they're the bloody same. They're the same height cab. It's got the same mirrors on it. It's got the same underrun bars. It's, we haven't got a glass door. One of the people from TfL went, well, why don't you fit low profile tyres to it? Because that's not manufacturer specification. Put low profile tyres on it, lower it closer to the ground. That's not right.
We found one, and the CS is 0. Same. So my LFs, I think there's a fraction, but nothing noticeable in height difference of the actual bottom of the windscreen. But all the LFs are given 1 automatically. No window, no nothing. There were 16 plates, and sort of 18 plate CFs were 0.
We had a situation.
We're talking about.
No, go on, Tom. Go on.
And obviously, I've not met any of the other guys personally except Dave, so I know there's a significant height difference between Dave. We're both drivers. Now, Dave at 6'3" in his cab has got a much better view of the road than me at my 5'8". In the same vehicle, who would have the better looking? So Dave's got a 1, get a 0, just for the height difference. So this, the vehicle cabs and the ride position, the seating position, all plays a part. But it's massively driver specific as well, because Dave can see more out the window, at the front window of his truck, than I can, just simply being 6 inches taller than me.
We bought some. Yeah, it's a good point. We bought some Mercedes Actros this year, some new ones with the mirror cam. So instead of having a mirror on the outside, they've got.
What are they like? Are they any good to drive, or?
Yeah, well, it's a mixed bag. I mean, so just to digress for a second, it's what you would imagine. Your older school drivers like them less because they're used to, the mirror, whereas newer drivers tend to get used to it a bit quicker. So there was that kind of mix. The biggest challenge, to be fair, was having mixed fleets. So if you're getting into one day and then getting into another the next, that's made it difficult. But it's certainly very good, and better visibility where it follows the trailer around as well, so you get better visibility. But the point I was going to make is that identical vehicles, one with a mirror cam or one without, change its star rating. And I said, you're kidding, you can't. What, just because there isn't a mirror on the outside, you think that that's going to help us to see more? It doesn't matter. I don't know the science behind it, but if you had a mirror cam instead of a mirror, it changed its star rating, which has surprised me.
Well, it's just hypocrisy, isn't it? A camera and a mirror are both indirect. So
it's a good point.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Yeah, and that was one of the things that I've never come on a Zoom meeting from the managers CPC forum before, and I thought, well, DVS is quite close to us. I can make inside Greater London within 20 minutes from us. I know Tel's a bit closer, so he can probably do it quicker. And it affects everybody, you know, whether you're, you know, from Warrington coming into London or whether you're actually based with inside the M25 already, it affects everybody. And I just don't think, and I don't know what the way forward is I don't think there's clear direction. And I don't think the system that they've decided to put in place is actually versatile enough for operators to go, right, what have we got? What can we do? And as I say, you know, some people are very lucky and started early and has got the camera kit. But as you say, used to say that camera, you know, we keep some of our vehicles no more than 7 years, you know, up to 5 usually. But if they've got very low mileage, we might bang another couple of years on them. And you know, 7 years time on these 21 plates, you know, where they're not compliant already without the kit going on, you know, 7 years time, are we not going to be able to go inside the M25? Well, we've got 3 branches inside the M25 already. That equates to 18 lorries inside the M25, just for them 3 branches. And, you know, that might mean that actually, because that's what DVS said to me, you may have to shuffle your fleet around so none of them go in the M25. I went, what are you talking about? 18 of them are already inside the M25.
That's a really, and you know, I don't want to be too critical of TfL, but that's a really unfair thing. That's really ignorant of your smaller operators. That's great is for your big fleets who've got the scope to move fleet around, but that's not most operators. Most operators can't do that. That's a really unfair approach. Is that? Which that's a disappointing response. Is that?
Yeah, and I'll prove the point. See, with the introduction of the DVS, we've obviously had the LEZ kick in as well with the Euro 6. So a skip operator who are going in, well, more frequently recently, but hadn't seen them in probably 6 months. I get a phone call the Friday before on the 26th, 27th of Feb. I've just paid out $5,000 for all these cameras and mirrors on my 5 trucks. Like, yes, mate. I mean, I've only got one that can actually be driven in London because I've got this Euro 6. The other, they're all Euro 4 skip operator. Oh, okay. He said, and my yard's inside it. Oh, okay. What's your plan? Help me out here, Tel. That's what I got 2 days before it all kicked in. And he already spent all his money. His trucks are next to worthless. And he's had to move his yard anyway because of his operation. He probably stands somewhere in the region of about 120 grand in trucks this week that he's had to go and lease, buy, purchase, beg, borrow, steal. And he's in the process of obviously moving his yard outside of the LEZ zone from out of Romford. Yeah, so he's took a heavy hit because of this.
It's harsh.
The trucks that he's invested money in.
It's hard. You know, again, you don't want to be unsympathetic, but again, the truth of it is that is harsh. But again, we knew this 18 months ago. LEZ was going to be tightening up. You know, it's not that I don't have sympathy, but you know, you just got to be on the ball, haven't you? To be fair, that the tightening of the low emission zone wasn't new 2 years ago. That was
no, it wasn't unknown, but they didn't make any bones about it when DVS kicked out. The one thing I'll say about this is, to be fair, even I had sort of slipped my mind about the change.
Yeah,
and then until I got reminded about a fortnight before. And
that I agree with. So to be fair, to put into perspective what I'm saying, yes, they talked about it. It was when ULEZ was more talked about going back a couple of years, and then they talked about, right, how this is how we're going to move forward, and the low emission zone will be tightened, and then later in this year, ULEZ will be expanded. There was a big noise about that. But to be fair, Terry, you're right. In the last 6 months, they haven't been making a noise about it, and it wouldn't have done them any harm to say to everybody, look, while you're focusing on DVS, don't forget this, because that's a good point. It's probably a bit unfair of me to say, well, yeah, but we all knew. Well, that's because it was a live topic 2 years ago, but probably not within the last 6 months. So it would have been fair of them to kind of make a bit of noise about that again to help people. It's a good shout. It's not like we haven't got a lot to remember.
Has anyone actually been subject to a fine yet for DVS or the LEZ? Because I've got operators that have been...
Yeah,
LEZ only, to be fair, no one for DVS. But...
No, I picked up an LEZ this week. Funnily enough, I was reading it earlier on today, but I can't complain about it. We made a mistake.
I mean, one of my customers, they phoned me the day before, going, "What is DVS?" And I was like, "What? What do you mean, what is DVS?" So I checked their vehicles. Now, the couple of new vehicles, typical Scania, that you needed documentation from Scania for. And I said, Scania are not the best at the best times. They're slow. How long is it going to take to get that documentation? So as of March the 1st, they had to park them all up because they had the camera systems in, but they didn't have the rating.
I was fortunate, one of mine was with the same position, but MAN, 8 mans, ranging from a 55 plate to a 64 plate. And I managed to get all of them on the grace period on the Sunday, on the 28th. They come through in the grace period. Had all the gear, but none of the paperwork to apply. So I sort that out for them, and they're currently sitting in the grace period. Luckily, bought them 3 months to get the paperwork together and pull the finger out. But I've also got a handful of operators that didn't, you know, people that I haven't spoken to in probably a year ringing me up saying, "Can you help me out? I've just had this fall through the mat. I've had a warning vehicle come close."
I've just looked it up since you asked. I got an LEZ yesterday, but to be fair, that's because I've got a facility in Reading, and we are all Euro 6 apart from 4, and the driver. We did pick it out to make sure he didn't go the right way into London, but he kind of took a bit of a detour, so I got stung. But that's on me. Is that? It's not. Yeah, we try to, like, as someone said earlier on, you know, it's all right saying you can swap all your fleet around, but we just didn't have enough, so we're running a few Euro 5s in the London area, and we're just trying to juggle that fleet around and try not to send the Euro 5s.
You'll swallow that. It's a $1, isn't it, now for a Euro 5?
Yeah,
quid a day. So if you're going to put it in, make it work its day in London, and then got across a few jobs, aren't you? But it's when they just cut in take a shortcut, or the Blackwall. Dartford Crossing is looking a bit heavy, so I'll run into the Blackwall or something like that. Yeah, that's that, lads.
See, what I'm struggling with my fleet, I work for Network Rail, so I'm in charge of the whole southern region. So we've got over 1,600 vehicles, but it's commercial vans. We've only got about 35, 36 HGVs, and we're struggling with the low traffic noise in London at the moment, where we've got a lot of response vehicles going through these LTNs, and that's what we're receiving loads of at the moment, because Network Rail being Network Rail, we think that we're not a transport business, even though we've got a fleet of vehicles, and it's a killer. Being an ex-transport manager going to Network Rail, and they think they've got the law to their own hands. Do you know what I mean? And it's crazy. But yeah, we're just struggling with the LTNs at the moment.
That's these low traffic neighbourhoods, Darren, is it? Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, they have been a bit naughty. Some of those have sprung up out of nowhere as well. All of a
we've
sudden.
got them outside. They're literally outside our depots. So we've got
Right.
we've got one, and they literally overnight just sprung it outside.
Yeah.
And I think we spent about 50k on fines through our rapid response vehicles, because
Yeah, sure.
as soon as there's an issue, they'll just fly through them. And I've got to get my head around Network Rail, because they're law to themselves, basically. And compliance for HGVs is just crazy, absolutely crazy.
I'll remember that. So let me write that down.
Yeah.
Next time they write to me about a bridge strike,
Yeah.
tell me they're gonna talk to the traffic commissioner because I've driven into a bridge. I'm gonna remind them of that.
You wouldn't think that for someone like Network Rail, would you?
But no, so yeah, it's a challenging job, that's for sure.
So
But
they're not classed as an emergency service then?
they are, but they're not. We're a restricted license, which luckily I'm not on as a TM, but I still have the same responsibilities as normal. But
It's still responsible.
it
Can't
is.
duck out that easy.
And I'd rather be back to some normal transport company, because, like I say, they're law to themselves. And
What region you in, Darren?
Sorry,
What area you live in?
I'm in Maidenhead, Berkshire.
All right, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I basically I've been there for 3 years, and it's a very challenging job role, but it is good. It is good. But yeah, it's different. I'm still struggling to get my head around the way they work, really. Oh, sorry, I'm back.
That was my fault. We only get 45 minutes on here, but every time I've done this, they go, "Oh, it's a really good talk. We'll give you extended time," and they didn't do it this time. So it looks like we.
I thought everyone was bored of me. I thought
we've lost some people at the moment. They come back on.
Like, oh, we'll cut Darren off.
Here we go. There's a few more people coming in.
everyone's on their way back.
Yeah, I was hoping that wasn't going to happen. It gave me a countdown, but it done that to me last time. But then like last second, it said, "Oh yeah, we'll give you full privilege this time."
At least it let you coming back in with the same number.
Yeah, I was a little bit. I thought we lost it for good.
I thought it was just me when I disappeared. I thought,
No, there was a countdown. I was just hoping it was going to end before it got to 0, and it didn't.
So yeah, lots of challenges for everybody really. It's you know, as I say, I'm lucky we've got all the permits on ours, but I know the lorries are not absolutely 100% compliant in every area. I had to go through every single individual registration online to make sure they're going back to LEZ and ULEZ compliant, which they are. But it's just feels like it's a battle. It just feels like a battle, especially when we get you know, the systems are not as good as what we would have hoped. But I know it'll come, you know, but it's just an outlay, you know, when I'm looking at potentially 15 vehicles, spending, you know, $3,000 each vehicle for the camera kit to make them, you know, compliant, because we only have 0 and 1s, you know, to make it compliant. And, you know, you go to the MD or one of the ops directors and say, right, okay, you know, unfortunately, I want 30 grand off you, 35, 40 grand for camera kit. Or they don't just smile at you, they sort of through teeth, and they want to know why. And, you know, ultimately you can just put your hands up and go, because you've got to. But, you know, that's a big chunk of money that, you know, the smaller businesses have got to find just for no return, really.
For nothing back. I was going to say that. You're absolutely right, Dave. That's the point. That's the point. For it only to do the same as you did yesterday.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, absolutely right. No.
I mean, I think it's fair to say as well, there's a lot of it that are bloody expensive. I mean, you say you're talking to Brigade, Dave. I mean, I think the starting price for their setup is about £1,600. Locally, I bought kits out of 727 for 390 quid, which was a side scan, audible left turn, camera setup, 400 quid. But there are guys out there going, yeah, it's £1,000, 1,200 quid, no problem. They're going to 727 or somewhere similar, pulling them up for £400 or £500 and charge it fitting and charge it because it's a Saturday night, Sunday night, we'll charge it premium for fitting it. But there's a lot of people making a lot of money out of fitting these kits.
We've got obviously some of our vehicles already, they're not kitted with a near side camera or near side proximity or turn left audible alert. You know, we've got the reverse cameras, you know, we've got as much on it as we can. As I say, we use TrueTac and Microlise, and actually I've gone to Microlise for our kit, and there is a lead time of 4 to 6 weeks for majority of it. And you look at it and you think, okay, well, how much is that kit? Luckily, we've managed to get it to about 2,200 per lorry, and that's for 360 cameras, left turn audible, and the proximity sensors and things like that. But if I go with Microlise, I've also got a monthly subscription because it's not a hard drive system; it's a cloud-based system, and I can review all live video footage. You know, if they're harsh braking, I can view, you know, that bit of footage at that particular time of the harsh braking, and the system's good, but it comes at a cost. You know, it's costing us an absolute fortune, and the monthly subscription. Okay, we could say we don't need the monthly subscription, and we could go to sort of DVR and have a recording hard drive in the lorry itself. It's like it's best trying to get the best of both worlds, and you know the Microlise is winning for us, but the lead time Brigade you just can't get decent kit because, you know, as I say, that everybody, fair play, people have been on it from the beginning and have kitted their lorries out already. You know, I was talking to Adrian Slade, and you know he's been having terrible trouble with DVS rejecting his vehicles with the kit on. So it's just, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the way forward is. It just feels like needed, yes, absolutely. But as I say, I've never seen a vehicle, and you guys will probably correct me for this, I've never seen a vehicle that's over 1 star anyway. I dare say the lower cabs, like the Mercedes low cabs, with it looks like a bin lorry. There's some tippers going around like that. I dare say they've got a better vision. But
I've got an 07 plate, Dennis. That's a 5-star. So that's good for 10 years.
See, Webster Miller have got a 5-star, brand new 26-ton 5-star low cab. Looks
Really?
okay.
There's a couple around here as well. Willows have got one as well. Willow Transport bought themselves a couple of low slung cabs.
What it's like to
Which is
drive, I
great.
don't know, but
And again, I was talking to the guys at Walsh's that have got one of them low slung Mercedes cabs. Crap for landfill sites. You know, it isn't fit for purpose.
Mm.
You know, the way the axle's set up on the front is, you know, Mercedes have sold, you know, I used to drive the Gigaspace Actros with mirrors and without, with the camera systems, and but they've got one of these low cabs, and it's always bottoming out. It's just, the principle's great, but the vehicles are not fit for purpose, and they wish they never bought them. So I don't know.
all I would say is, on the plus side of all this camera system, if you are Fords accredited, that gives you a silver accreditation for vehicle camera systems and things. That is a requirement of silver. So at least that is only a small perk. If you do decide to go for Fords, you won't have to get them for that because you already have them.
Yeah.
If that's any perk at all.
I mean, that's, you know, we redone our Fords, and I know we're not on here to talk about Fords today, but Fords accreditation, they'd with the extension that they did, we had 2 remote desktop audits on 2 of our sites. Fine, got re-accredited, but it still ran out on the 2nd of April. Now, I said to him, I said, but we've just had 2 desktop audits, but you're going to tell me that my Fords bronze accreditation, because we've only gone for bronze, Fords bronze accreditation is going to expire in April anyway? And they went, yeah. And I went, well, what does that mean? They went, you got to have 3 more audits. You got to have head office audit and another 2 audits. I went, but a month ago, well, actually, 2nd of February, you've just given me 2 desktop audits anyway. Yeah, but now you're expiring. And I argued the point, and as a goodwill gesture, they've extended my bronze expiry date until November, which is great as a goodwill gesture, but it's just, again, farcical. It's just,
So if you're bronze solely, is it still 2 years?
Yes,
it is. It's, even if you're, because we're gold, so we get 2 years on the bronze. I wasn't sure if that was for everybody or not.
Oh, yeah, I believe so. I'm saying yes. I believe so. Ours has been extended as a goodwill gesture till November, but we've still got to jump through the hoops, and I know bronze. Obviously, there's a lot more involved with your silvers and your golds.
One, really, isn't it? I think the bronze.
Yeah, and you know, the addition of the camera is great, but we have no intention of going to silver. You know, ages and ages ago, I spoke to Sarah Bell, and she said, I like the thought of Fords. She said the principle of Fords is great, but we've got a perfectly good system in place already for the O licensing,
operator licensing. Absolutely,
yeah,
right.
Why do we want to go to Fords? But I know on the flip side of that, there's a lot of companies that I've spoken to who said, by following the Fords standard, it's kept us compliant for our O licensing. So I suppose it's horses for courses. But for us, we only going for bronze. We only want to stay bronze. We have no intention of going to silver. And to be honest, we only actually went to Fords because only one of our companies that we serve required our supplier to be Fords accredited, and they've used us twice in the last year, and actually it's not worth it. We might as well sub it out to someone that's got the Fords.
we get that a lot. We actually get people coming to us for our Fords because they don't do it. But you've got a lot of projects like the Thames Tideway project, which is based on the Fords accreditation. So without the Fords accreditation, you can't do Thames Tideway project sites. You can't do a lot like Battersea Power Station, all these big sites you can't do. So for someone like us, it's absolutely vital. If we didn't have it, then we'd have no work.
No, that's
but
right.
that's the point, though, isn't it?
I can't make it any clearer than that.
But that's exactly the point, isn't it? So to what you were saying a minute ago is, yes, it's a good mechanism for helping you stay compliant, but nobody uses it for that. and I might be speaking out of turn here, I am not aware of anybody that has said, I'm going to use fours as a mechanism for helping me stay compliant. Because it's a commercial decision. You use fours because your customer wants you to. You haven't got the work otherwise.
Definitely.
I don't know anybody that's said, I'm going to use fours because it's a great way of making sure I'm compliant.
Because we've got that
Right,
system in place
sucking your money
already.
away.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think people got my opinion there.
But it is true. Most things, and I'm not saying everything, because you know most of these things are brought in with good intention. But to me, it's just a cash cow. You know, fours. You know, great. Give me 2 desktop audits, 200 quid each. You know, and then all of a sudden, in a month's time, Dave, you've got to have 3 more audits because you've expiry date. You can't tell me that's not about money. It's just wrong. And you know, going back to what you were saying about Tideways, you know, every driver that I've spoken to that's done the day in the death of Michael, whatever it was, the Tideways driver CPC, said that is ultimately the best one they've ever been on. And I've never been on it. And a lot of the tipper companies, you know, but when they go there and they've got the real actors acting out the scenario of a death on a construction site and things like that, you know, some things do hit home. And that for the drivers, that is, I've been told by the drivers that is one of the very few CPC courses that I've been on that actually really has been beneficial. All the rest is just about the money, you know.
You can go on the Thames Tideway like 3 times before you've got to go on that course. So we just keep swapping the drivers around to save and go on that course. They've got one customer always requests us to go on that, and I'm running out of drivers. I said, look, we're not going to lose drivers for days to go on a Thames Tideway course for a job we might never get again.
No.
But if you're saying it's good, then I'm just writing it down. It's possibly worth doing. But
yeah, I mean, if you
certainly was beforehand, is not going to bother.
If you have a look, you can, if you Google a day in the death of Michael, and I can't remember the surname for the life of me. It's the day in the death of Michael, and it's about a construction employee where the bosses are pushing, and they cut corners, health and safety corners, and actually he ends up dying from, you know, I think it's going through a 3-phase cable with a jackhammer, and actually you don't just see that, you see the side of where the bosses are pushing for results and figures, and then you get to see the daughter whose dad who's just died and what she's missed out on, and it actually really hits home. But as I say, I've not been on it, but all the drivers that I know that have done it, and you know, there's so many, obviously we do a lot with tipper companies in this area, so there's lots of tipper companies in this area where drivers have been on it, and they said it's absolutely probably one of the best courses they've been on.
It's a day in the death of Michael Clark. I'm on the Tide.
That's the one. Absolutely. So that's it. If you get to watch the video, there's a video in there of how they built the set, how they got the actors in, and what it revolves around. And actually, it's you know, it gives you a real good insight of what the drivers are going to go and see. But yeah, it's meant to be brilliant. As I say, it's I know we've diversed a little bit, but yeah, it's absolutely meant. And again, I've loved it. You know, Gordon's offered to put me on one of their lists as a driver, and you know, because it's free, they get a subsidy or however it works, and they say, "Oh, come on, Dave, let's go. We'll get you on as one of our drivers." And I've not got round to doing that, but yeah, it's meant to be really, really good. So it might help some people out, especially if you need that sort of scenario, the Tideways for your business. Not everybody does, obviously.
And these CPC hours, accredited hours as well, are they?
Yes. Yeah, they get the. I think it's obviously 7 hours per module and stuff like that. Yeah, they get that as well. So
I mean, it's one that that's not part of the list of 5, say, that you're going to do over and over again as well. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, if I was to get all my drivers to go on that, it's not something they go. It's not vehicle checks. It's not what they've done 15,000 times before.
Yeah. And again, I mean, you know, as Tel knows, you know, I'm an ADR instructor and I'm a CPC instructor. So, you know, it's, again, I like the thought when they brought out the ruling that you should do 5 different modules. That's the first time recently that anybody has come out and said that. You know, we've had drivers sit on, you know, driving hours and working time directives 4 and 5 times. Now, you can't tell me that that's not about the money. The government earning the £8.75 per driver per upload. It can't be about safety. It can't be about driver knowledge because they can do the same bloody one. And it was refreshing when they brought a ruling in that actually you have got to do 5 different modules, mate.
I mean, I felt that was obvious, and it'd been obvious from day one when the CPC first came out. I was thinking, well, why can you do them the same? Why can you do the same courses 5 times? And it's never made any sense to anybody. So it's got to be money related. Like I said, now they must have known that themselves, but now they've finally done something about it and stopped that.
But look how long it took them to do that.
Exactly. There's obviously there's got to be a reason for that, though. They're not stupid, are they?
They must have had a figure in mind of once we
reason.
reach this. That's like Dartford Crossing, isn't it? They said that once the bridge was finished paying for, they were going to not charge for it. But that never happened.
How wrong they were there.
Yeah. So there you go. But right, I'm done. It's lovely to meet you all guys, and you know, as I say, it was the first one that I've been on, and yeah, no, it's good. It's good to hear other people's views.
Well, thank you all for coming. Is there anything else anyone wants to discuss at all before we go, or?
No, not from me. Interesting that. Very interesting. Good to see you all. Yeah. But again, probably to you, Martin, thanks very much for organising. Really appreciate that. Really, really good to get a few like-minded people around the table. Really interesting. Thank you, Martin.
No problem. I shall see you all hopefully next month then.
How regular are these?
Once a month at the moment. I'm trying to get them done every month. So it's only the 3rd one, so it's still early days. But we're hoping to do them once a month.
Yeah.
Perhaps see what, not necessarily just on the call now, but when you're back on the group, Martin, let's see what people want to talk about next time, because it's nice to have a bit of focus in it, so even a start for a conversation. So
definitely.
Think of something. I'll try myself. I'll try and think of something we can talk about.
That's it. It's thinking of something that's actually going to keep a conversation for an hour.
Yeah, that's right. Because we did like you said a minute ago, like Dave said a minute ago, you digress into all sorts. But yeah, it's good to have something to start us off, isn't it? I'll see if I can think of something for you, Martin.
Perfect.
Go on, I'll chuck fours in the ring then, because I always interested to hear what people have got to say about fours.
Fours. Oh, okay, that's a good one. That's a good start.
Yeah, silver progression. There we go. That's it.
I'll tell you what. Where is he still there, Martin? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do then. I'll throw in with Terry's fours earned recognition.
Now that is something I'd like to learn about.
If we're gonna talk about compliance, efficiency, safety standards, then we could arguably put earned recognition fours. Clocks is a bit sector specific, so maybe not. And operator licensing, that pros and cons of all of those. Yeah.
Earned recognition is something I don't know much. I know that the basics of it, I don't know in depth, partly because I know my company is not anywhere near there. It's something I'd love to do. I'd love to audit it. So I'd like to know some more information about that, really.
I will guarantee you now, most people are a lot closer than they realise. Telling you now, for earned recognition. I've seen a lot. Nowhere near it. 10 minutes. I'm like, we're actually a lot closer than you think. It's not the big beast that people make out.
So just going back to the O licensing. So today I had a compliance audit with some of my MDs, and I know we were wrapping up, so sorry to throw this into the mix. So today I had a compliance audit for lots of things. For obviously we run anything from 6 fault trucks on one site to 2 fault trucks. So obviously we've got a maintenance contract with Briggs. I've got maintenance contracts with DAFs. I've got you name it. I've got maintenance contracts coming out of the back end of everything. Really interesting conversation with my bosses. However, OCRS. So my OCRS score is green, great. But the platform's down, isn't it, for at least
12
8 weeks?
I think it's 12 weeks. I think it is.
12 weeks.
Is it 12? I know it said, I'm sure it said 8 today, but either way, it's still down for a long time. And we know that the DVSA are going to use historical history that we've got based on our systems for it. So has any of you guys, and this is obviously just a question from me, has any of you guys got any insight of why it's down? What are they doing?
No idea at all. It's a good question.
When I got the email for it, I'm sure it was some sort of software problem they was having, and they estimated it'd take 12 weeks. I mean, what possibly could take 12 weeks? I don't know. You could probably rebuild the whole system in half the amount of time.
Yeah.
It's a hardware and a programming issue. I'm led to believe. I have a person who shall remain unnamed for obvious reasons, who says that they were doing some maintenance on the servers, and at least 2 of them were knackered, so they had to pull them out and put them back in. But there were two key servers. They were mirrored drives. If any of you know the technology, I'm a little bit rusty with mine, but they were the mirror of each other. So the 2 key ones were knackered, and they've had to basically put it back together from scratch. So I think the 12-week is probably them trying to patch it all back in and make sure it all works still.
All right. Surely in
Crazy though, isn't it, for organisation?
It goes out to the lowest bidder.
Today's climate, everything's cloud-based. What do they want RAID drivers for, and mirrored drives, and everything should be up in the cloud.
Did anyone see that big fire in France? They had with all the servers that someone set a load of servers like for big companies. There was some cloud computing in France. This massive warehouse went out of all the servers inside, and a lot of people lost their data. We lost all ours, funny enough. All our backups were actually happened to be in France, and there was obviously something on there that someone didn't want to see, I suspect, and they went up in flames.
It just seems, hard work. They get so much money from operators, and for different various reasons.
So where does the money go?
Yeah, we can't even.
Where does the money go? But as with everything, unfortunately, all this money, it falls into a hole, doesn't it?
Yes.
You can't see
the general response I get whenever we've asked the question to the. I mean, like Richard Turfitt at Karen and Evans conference last year was asked directly, where does all the money go? Central government. All the DVSA money, all the fines, all the fees we pay for applications, where it goes to central government, and they get a budget out of that. The rest of it stays in government. They don't see it. It doesn't, all these fines they collected when they changed all the driver's hours. They don't actually see that money. I mean, them examiners are still out earning their 18 grand a year. Big money if you argue with drivers.
It's not a lot of money either to work for DVSA. I looked at it before when I was debating whether to go transport management or go and work with them, and the money was poor. I couldn't believe it.
Not worth it. Risk versus reward, nowhere near.
This was for Dartford Crossing, I think it was the main one, but you got a big sort of bonus for working in London and all that lot. But the money was terrible.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
No, it's not the best. I mean, we obviously we got a local test centre down in near Dartford, obviously in Purfleet area, and I know the examiners very well, and they're awful. They do it as a bit of pocket money now. They're semi-retired, but as someone going into the profession, no one goes, do you know what? I want to go and work for DVSA for, me 18 grand a year, and including weekends, and
my lad does a Saturday job washing lorries on more money than that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's piss poor, isn't it? It's awful.
They must do it. They do it for the love.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I think they're just horrible people. They just like to torment.
Listen, I love that auditing side, so I would do that job. If the money was right, I would work for DVSA because I love the audit, and I love the looking at different things and assessing, and I love all that. I prefer that to managing, to be honest. But the money's just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
It's not the best, is it?
No.
Become a consultant, Martin. It's the best of both worlds.
I'd love to. I'm trying to find somebody to put me on a FORS auditing course. And the DGSA.
FORS auditing course?
A FORS auditing course. So you can be an auditor for FORS. I'm also looking for DGSA as well.
Drive Tech?
Yeah, I've spoke to them.
Yeah.
I haven't really got much response from them. I know, is it Mile Bay Consulting as well? They're talking about doing it, but I don't know much of a response.
You in contact with someone from Drive Tech, because I've got 2 days left to do it, but I've been postponing it because of COVID and all that.
Well, I missed the beginning of that. I think the line went funny.
Someone. I can put you forward to someone. Peter Lawson, his name is, from Drive Tech. They'll pay for the training course and everything. Because I was last year, or the year before actually, but time's flown by. I was going to pay for the course. Who's it through Fleet Source?
Yeah.
Drive Tech are actually paying for the course for you to do it.
I mean, I'll be happy to pay for it myself. The money's not the issue. I just want to get it done. I'm just struggling to find, like DGSA, I'm struggling to find someone. I usually use Sigma Studies in Purfleet. They're not good at the moment. I'm struggling to find someone actually doing the courses. But
it's good. I've got 2 days left where you go out with them, and then they got to go out with yourself. The problem I found is I spoke to a few people that were trying to do it as a full-time job with them, but the problem is due to the new tax situation, they're only actually giving you like 2 days worth of work a week. So you can't do it full time, but to bring in that extra bit of dollar, it's worth it.
So
Yeah,
Martin, if you're looking at doing your DGSA, so obviously I won't mention the company because you've just mentioned it, but I was their instructor, so
Oh, really?
I've
just done my 7 classes with Sigma. I've done everything with Sigma, to be fair, because I thought they were brilliant.
Yeah. So you
the DGSA.
So you probably had Ian to do your course. Yeah. So but if you want to do that, then just keep my name, find us on the forum, and I'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I definitely want to do that. So I've just done the 7 classes. I don't drive anymore. I've got class 1, but obviously I'm not past that. But
no,
I'm not going to do AD. I did that solely to get a base knowledge for
of
DGSA.
what's to come. Yeah, so they are different. So obviously I won't take anyone's time up here because this is not really a place to talk about it. But yeah, if you want to be pointed in the right direction, give me a shout.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll let you know exactly what I've got some test papers and stuff like that if you want.
Perfect. Well done. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I will do.
No worries, mate. No worries.
Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Brilliant.
Lovely.
See you all. Hopefully see you again next month.
Yeah, take it easy.
Thanks, Martin.
Ian.
See you, everyone.
See you later,
Next
Sal.
time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care, Dave.
Bye.